What up, y'all? Let's get to it. It's your boy, it's your man, Hustle MC. It's like, nah, it is me, Hustle MC, most definitely. Now, an author under my name, Calvin Morrell. Um, and we're here to talk how your fans of your business, right? All jokes aside. We start out by, giving some credibility, let you know how I got into this space. So as I get into what I'm speaking on, it'll resonate with you and you'll see it's coming from some real experience and not just, a bunch of things that I've Googled, searched, regurgitated from other people. This is stuff that comes from real, boots on the ground experience, seeing results and implementing these actions, right? So, little known fact, before I got into music, I actually pursued a career in computers. That was my first passion, right? When I was in high school, I was a computer kid. You know what I'm saying? I played sports, played basketball, but my interest, looking at college in the near future, I wanted to pursue computers. So I always had, a knack for computers. I always knew how to navigate, um, you know, what was available at the time, right? PCs, Macs, back in the, mid to late 90s. So by the time it was, um, graduation, enrollment into college, I pursued computer science. That was my major, right? So I finished that degree, bachelor's of science, 4 years degree in computer science. And I went on to work full time as a computer programmer on the heels of interning each summer and winter while I was at school. And once I wrapped up the degree, I just rolled into a permanent position as a computer programmer on salary. I did that for about 13 months until I was laid off out of the blue, which, believe it or not, I actually wasn't too upset about because I had developed another interest during that time, which was real estate. And so I had read, the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, during my last, actually it wasn't even during my last semester. It was right after I graduated, but before I walked, right? So I read the book. The landlord for the house I was living in at the time, she wrote that book on the back of the lease. I had never heard of it before. So, once I went on to work full time, I had more time on my hands in the evenings, after work in the evenings, on the weekends, whatever, right? So I said, let me not let this go to waste. Grabbed the book, read it, opened my eyes, introduced a new paradigm, in terms of assets versus liabilities, and understanding how, to view, generating wealth and building value outside of, making a wage or making a salary. So it really opened my eyes and I decided I wanted to pursue real estate. So fast forward to getting laid off as a computer programmer, I looked at it as an opportunity to where I can now just pivot into a career of real estate. And that's what I did. I had met a lady who did a first-time home buyers seminar the summer prior. We kept in contact, and she was in her free time just showing me how to evaluate investment deals, taking me through Willingboro, New Jersey in the early 2000s on like early Saturday mornings. Didn't charge me a dime and just showed me how to evaluate foreclosed properties, how to come up with rehab budgets, so on and so forth, things to look out for, and just equip me with a wealth of knowledge without charging me a dime. So once I lost the job as a computer programmer, she was the first call I made. And so I moved on to work in the real estate business, specifically the mortgage industry. And that's where I learned how to invest in real estate and began my journey to having a better understanding of financial literacy and asset classes via real estate and how that worked. And during that time, learning the relationship between the mortgage document and the real property, and how defaulting on the note loan would allow the bank to repossess the real property and foreclose on it when it came time for me to, pursue or explore my interest in getting into music, which I kind of did simultaneously. I went into music with a different understanding of the value of the intellectual property that music is at a very simple and foundational level, right? Understanding that the master was an asset as well as the publishing being an asset, and how these things were leveraged when you sign a record label deal or a major deal in exchange for some type of advance and monetizing your career, right? So that's my foundation, getting into music, coming from tech to real estate to music. And, fast forward, began MCing, launched the independent record label, and Hustle MC was born, right? So those are my beginnings in music, and how I came into an understanding of this game and decided to approach things from that angle, right? So here we are in 2025, and we're trying to monetize music from the attention that we garner on all of these third-party social media platforms. How do we do that? What do we need to understand? How do we make sense out of it when these algorithms change, when these platforms are doing nothing more than operating on their business model so they can monetize the attention and all this data from these freemium models that they made available to us 10, 15 years ago. And we're trying to build businesses on the back of that, right? How does that work? What does that look like? What are the things we need to do in order to be effective, sustainable, and profitable at the end of the day? So that's why, the premise of this is your fans are your business, not your followers. So I'm gonna also give you another example of a project that I did around 2014, 2015 that once again opened my eyes, or like planted the seeds on how we need to move right now. How some people are already moving, and how others are becoming more aware of that they need to move in this fashion to really, monetize and extract the value from all this music that we creating after constantly bumping our head against the wall, on things such as, limited social media reach, engagement, shadow banning, things of that nature. It's all about ownership, right? We discuss constantly the importance of owning your intellectual property, right? Your masters, your publishing, but other things that we need to own are the platforms that we operate our business on, that we sell our products through, that we engage with our fans, or in another business industry with, what you will call a lead, a sales lead, and how do we convert those into paying customers, right? So owning the platform, and then also owning the relationship with your fan base. What are the things and the tools that you need in place to build that type of infrastructure. So that way it makes dollars and cents, SCNCE, at the end of the day. So like I said, in 2015, 2014, I did a project with a real estate developer out in Trenton, New Jersey. And, he was is a young brother, same age range as me, right? So we was neck and neck in that, in that fashion. And, we came up through the same era. So we had a lot of things in common in terms of like, audience, right? And the people we wanted to reach and provide value to and throw the ladder back down and help, help develop, others who wanted to get into the things that we was involved with. And, his problem that needed a solution as one who wanted to, coach and mentor others was scale. The demand being too large for him to fulfill without some sort of digital infrastructure in place. He couldn't do all of these one-on-ones while running a successful real estate development company. He needed to scale that out somehow. Otherwise, he would be taking valuable time from running his development company and now putting that into, coaching others who wanted to learn how to get into the business and build their, investment businesses. So that was the first time I had the opportunity to work with a CRM. I was already doing, website development, digital marketing. I was the director of marketing. So everything from our direct marketing campaigns to the websites to the social media, email marketing, I was already doing those things. But once we introduced the CRM and, which introduced automation on the back of that, it gave us more firepower, to provide value on a 24/7 basis. And during that time, I had a former mentee of mine, who was a physical trainer for a well-known R&B legend who was developing a tech platform at the time, Ryan Leslie. You may have heard of Superphone, the app that he has available, which is a personal relationship management tool, right? A PRM. But at the time, it was still under development as a CRM, a customer relationship manager. Difference being, at one time, it was slated to be email-based, but he switched it to becoming text-based. So that became the major difference in how the tool operated, right? So once it was launched, it was rebranded from ActiveFan, and it was now called Superphone. So my mentee linked me with, I think it was maybe like the director of operations or something like that. But it was another young brother that was overseas doing a world tour, and he gave me a look at the dashboard and the tool while it was still in development, and just gave me a lot of game, right? So we implemented, our online coaching program, and we were doing back then the things that we need to be doing right now in terms of music, right? Using social media, creating content, grabbing that attention, moving it from social media over to our website, offering some value up front in terms of, game, right? Like some foundational information to tease you, right? To start, piquing your interest and building credibility for who the coach was, the mentor was. And a lot of people would sign up for that free value. Once they sign up for the free value, we give them some more value for free. And they have the option to sign up for either a monthly subscription or an annual subscription to the coaching program, which was 12 lessons pre-recorded and delivered automatically according to how you signed up, whether it was monthly or annually, right? So what does all this have to do with music? we're dealing with intellectual property, right? Your music being your master and your publishing. Um, and the products that we create around this intellectual property and how we offer these products and monetize these products, as well as the IP itself, right? The masters and the publishing, they have their own revenue streams in terms of the different royalties. But then you also have all of the rights to be able to create products around those IPs, right? Which would be akin to, cassette tape, CDs, vinyl, um, you know, um, hard tickets to shows, merchandise. Those are the, things that typically come to mind when you think about, monetizing the music career. But there's really no ceiling or, no limit on how creative you can be and, creating different types of products and ways to engage with your fans and convert them into paying customers, right? So that's something that, you need to have an understanding of, right? At least at a foundational level. So, dealing with social media, again, these are third-party platforms that have their own business models. So we have to use them for how we have to use them to gain attention, to get in front of people, to get in front of eyes, to get in front of ears. But then you also have to invest and build not only in your team, but into different tools in creating your own destination in your own world to move the traffic to, so that way you can build your business, run your business, monetize your business. And these are the things that I get into in the ebook, The Indie Assignment. Just a lot of these concepts and the different information that we need clarity on. It's just concepts that, like I said, that have been real valuable for me in my career to this point and moving forward. And I'm now sharing that information with you. So this is an opportunity for you to begin to get some clarity on where you're at now and how you need to evolve and scale out what you're doing to move forward. That way you'll always be in a position of power and have the advantage of leverage on your side based on ownership and control of your intellectual property, the relationship with your fans, and the platform that you build to engage them on, right? So at the end of the day, it's with those things in place, now you have the responsibility of crafting a marketing strategy that's going to execute on that system that you put in place for yourself, right? And I summarize it up like this. I look at it like it's 3 C's. Create attention, capture the attention, and convert the attention into currency, right? So maybe that's 4 C's. But we use social media to create the attention, and you offer some type of value. Keyword is offer, as well as value, but you have to craft it in a way that's enticing, right? So you have to make an offer, right? It could be an exclusive song, could be exclusive content, could be whatever the case may be. Again, as creative as you can be, you have to extend an offer that your followers can take advantage of the offer. But in order to do so, they have to arrive at a destination, your platform, your website, your CRM, whatever the case may be, to capture that offer, right? And once once they capture that offer, you capture their contact information, email address, mobile number, zip code, perhaps, right? That's useful when it's time to tour, do shows. You know where your support comes from based on that zip code. And now you are a better equipped and more informed marketer, so that way you can begin marketing your actual products that you have for sale to convert those fans into paying customers. Sell your vinyl, sell your CDs, sell your digital downloads, sell your subscriptions, whatever the case may be. But there's a system that you need to put in place so that way you can always be in position to maximize the value that you create in your music, which is your intellectual property, which is an asset. All right, the Indie Assignment, cop the book, hit the website, indieassignment.com, get some clarity, and then get at me to learn some more. All right, peace.